receiving your hat, and we'll let Assistant Chief Green lead us in the pledge today.
Thank you, Mayor. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Roll call.
Steve Booker Jr.
Here.
Eric Whittington.
Here.
Steve Mayberry.
Here.
Danny Lowe.
Here.
Scott Schwab.
Here.
Bonnie Donaldson.
Here.
Okay, everybody? All right, move on to the election of President Pro Tempore and nominations.
I'll nominate Dan Booker.
I'll second.
I didn't hear. What?
This was a nomination for President and Council.
Is that the President Pro Tem?
Yep.
Yes.
We're taking nominations?
One was already presented
Yeah.
for Mr. Booker, and second.
Yeah. I would like to, no, we're not nominating.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I wanna nominate Sue Mayberry, please.
okay. We need a second for that?
Yes.
Joe? Okay. All right. Have no second? Help me out there, Scott. Just go on to voting
Boy,
on.
put me in a box now, right on that, right.
That's why we paid you the big bucks. I didn't go to law school.
If you don't have a second, it dies.
Right,
Exactly.
Okay.
right.
All right. So we have a motion to elect Dan Booker, and that was made by Scott
Scott.
Schwab, and that was seconded by Eric.
Correct.
All righty. Any discussion? Dan, you're not gonna give us your,
My campaign speech?
your campaign speech? Okay. Who was that? Was that Johnson who said if nominated, I won't run, and if elected, I won't serve, so. All right, roll call?
Scott Schwab.
Yes.
Danny Lowe.
Yes.
Sue Mayberry.
Yes.
Dan Booker Jr.
Yes.
Eric Whittington.
Yes.
Bonnie Donaldson.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you all.
Okay.
You deserve it.
Careful.
All right. One heartbeat away, the election of the vice president.
I'll nominate Sue Mayberry for vice president.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion by Scott Schwab, second by Danny Loesch. I don't know why I can't write tonight. Any other nominations? Okay. Discussion? Sue, you wanna give a speech?
No.
All right, roll call.
Dan Booker Jr.
Yes.
Eric Whittington.
Yes.
Sue Mayberry.
Yes.
Danny Lowe.
Yes.
Scott Schwab.
Yes.
Bonnie Donaldson.
Yes.
All right, election of committee on committees. So now this would fall into Dan's,
Actually, we elect two members out of the balance of council
Right.
who, with the President Pro Tem, serve on the Committee on Committees.
okay? So Dan's on it,
Automatically, yes.
Yeah. and so we need two other people to be on committees on committee.
I'll nominate Sue for one slot for
Second.
committee on committees.
I'll second.
Okay?
Bonnie Donaldson?
I'll
Second.
second that too.
Okay. You getting this, Alyssa? Cause I'm not.
Gamble and.
Let's go back to Sue here. We had, motion by Scott and second by Eric, was it?
Yes.
Okay. And then, nomination for Bonnie was from Sue?
Yeah.
Okay, and seconded by
Eric.
Eric, okay. All right.
Oh, that makes, that's the three.
No,
That's the three.
Yeah, that's the three.
That's the
Cause
three.
Dan's
Oh,
on, we
okay.
don't need to elect him, so.
Okay.
All right, any other nominations? Okay, any discussion? Roll call?
Scott Schwab.
Yes.
Danny Lowe.
Yes.
Sue Mayberry.
Yes.
Dan Booker Jr.
Yes.
Eric Whittington.
Yes.
Bonnie Donaldson.
Yes.
All right. And Scott, we didn't need to separate those, did we?
Yeah.
We did? All right, we'll call that election for Sue Mayberry.
Bifurcated and vote on them separately.
Okay. All right, so that was the election for Sue Mayberry, and now the election for Bonnie Donaldson. Roll call?
Dan Booker Jr.
Yes.
Eric Whittington.
Yes.
Sue Mayberry.
Yes.
Danny Loesch.
Yes.
Scott Schwab.
Yes.
Bonnie Donaldson.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Okay, all right, so now, adopt council rules.
I make a motion to adopt the council rules as they, stand at this time.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Sue Mayberry, seconded by Scott Schwab. Any discussion? Roll call?
Bonnie Donaldson.
Yes.
Sue Mayberry.
Yes.
Eric Whittington.
Yes.
Dan Booker Jr.
Yes.
Danny Loesch.
Yes.
Scott Schwab.
Yes.
All right. Report of standing committees. Do we report back on our work session? Sue, can you do that for us?
Yes, we had a work session, at 6 o'clock. We discussed, fire department pay and, the fact that the township has increased, some salary rates. We need to, get some scenarios from our finance director to see what we can come up with to better be in line with what the Lawrence Township has given their increases. So our guys are making somewhat the same. Our guys have been underpaid for a while, and so we need to make that right, but we have to be within our budget. So we discussed that, and we'll hear some more information from Mr. Rouse at the next meeting to make some decisions about that.
Okay, and we also are gonna have a meeting, invite Lawrence Township to meeting
Oh,
with full
yes,
council.
yes, we're gonna have a meeting with Lawrence Township just to, kinda understand how we can work better together.
All righty, thank you. Citizens' comments for agenda matters? Okay, and then we need to correct and adopt the record of proceedings from December 18th, the work session, and also the council, so we wanna split those up.
Yeah.
Bifurcate, right, Mr. Bowman?
Make a motion to adopt the December 18th, 2018, work session minutes.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Sue Mayberry, seconded by Scott Schwab. Any discussion? Roll call?
Scott Schwab.
Yes.
Danny Loesch.
Yes.
Sue Mayberry.
Yes.
Dan Booker Jr.
Yes.
Eric Whittington.
Yes.
Bonnie Donaldson.
Yes.
All right, and then the minutes from the regular council meeting for December 18th.
Make a motion to adopt the December 18th regular council meeting minutes.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Sue Mayberry, seconded by Dan Booker Jr. Any discussion?
I-
just have, oh, sorry, go ahead, Sue.
Oh, go ahead.
Just one thing at the bottom of the fourth page,
Yes.
a motion was made by me, seconded by me. I don't think I'm allowed to do that, so I don't know which one I did.
Oh.
I either made the motion or second, but I can't remember which one.
You see it?
All right.
I have a couple things too, but Sue, you go ahead, you were first.
Page 3, 3/4 down. Believe it or not, this is his 600th council meeting, Mr. Dorman, blah, blah, blah. He served under 6 mayors, Zanto. The second mayor's name is Messenger. Messenger, I believe is how that is spelled. And, the next page on page 4, about a little halfway down, when I mentioned receiving the letter from the Stark County Commissioners about a municipal road fund application, it really should read, and that Mr. Cozy received the copy in his handling. I was never gonna forward it to him, he already had his copy. So Mr. Cozy received his copy in his handling, because I had questioned him about that. That's all that I had. Bonnie, you
Yes.
next.
I was just gonna ask if we could, is there any chance that we could have these pages with numbers on them? To make it easier. And, on bottom page 4, where it says this Saturday. Pardon me? There isn't before. Which it should be, but it's not. I know. This Saturday, Monarch will be here at 11 to walk on the property. I think it should have a date, instead of just saying this Saturday.
22nd.
What date was it?
22nd.
Is that what it was?
December 22nd. Well, here's where it gets, I have a question about that. Can we, if I didn't say that, can we add it?
No.
You can't,
No.
okay. So we'll have to go back through the audio and see if I said this Saturday the 22nd, then.
Oh, if it's there, yes, you can add it, but if
Right.
you didn't say it,
You
no,
Right.
you just
Yeah.
don't add it.
Right.
No, but if you just said this Saturday, she can put the date in.
No,
No,
you can't add it.
that's not added, but it said this Saturday, which you
You're
know what the
recording
date
the
would be.
meeting. You can't add.
You actually have to have the date set.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's recording what is said.
Well, then Joe, that's on you.
No, it was this Saturday at the
Well,
time.
go back and go back and listen, cause if you
Yep.
said it, it can go in.
Right, exactly. And that's what I want to clarify.
If it's important for you,
Yeah. So,
have her do that.
all right, we'll check, but thank you. Anything else? All right, let's, go with, roll call.
Scott Schwab.
Yes.
Danny Loesch.
Yes.
Sue Newberry.
Yes.
Dan Booker Jr.
Yes.
Eric Whittington. Bonnie Collins.
Yes.
All right, moving on to report of administrative officers, and the senior center would like me to share that, they have 4 trips scheduled this year. The first one is in, May. They're going to Savannah, Georgia between, May 5th and 10th, and then they're going to New York, between June 21st and 24th. Then in September, they're going to Wildwood, New Jersey, September 8th through 12th. And, it's, Christmas in the Smokies in November, I'm guessing Great Smoky Mountains. So, that is in November. And, the, January 12th is a Swiss steak dinner, if anyone's, wants to support our seniors and their ventures. And they, are going to elect their board members, on their commission, on January 8th. So that's what the, seniors have to share with us. Wanted to get the word out there on Facebook world. All right, community service, have no report. Fire chief?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be brief. I just want to thank council for the work session a little bit ago. It was nice to be able to voice our concerns. The other thing, the only other things I have is our truck is still being delayed, and our sales rep, he says they're waiting on a driver to drive it from South Dakota to Canal Fulton. I'd volunteer, but I don't want to be responsible for any mishap that might happen between here and there.
Do they normally, is that their responsibility to deliver it?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's insured on its way, correctly? Correct?
It's their
It's
truck
their-
until.
It's their baby until they land it here, right?
Right, we have
Right.
not transferred any money or transferred title yet, so.
Okay.
The only other thing, I have for council is that, the Marks radio system is getting ready to get up and get fired up. They're looking at a date of January 20th to go live. There's still a lot of pieces that have to happen. We only have, Canal Fulton only has 15 portable radios, so we could go live with the 15 portable radios. It'd just be a little awkward and inconvenient, but we could do that. Also, I had received word from Chief Martin of Perry Township that the AFG radios that we got with the regional grant will be shipping on January 18th, so we won't have those in time to go live with those, but should all the stars align and things happen that need to happen, we could go live with our 15 portable radios on January 20th.
Any questions for Chief Durkee? All right, moving on to Chief Swartz.
Thank you, Mayor. I would just ask, as you guys are contemplating the fire department issue, if I could just point out that I find it hard to ride my bicycle at times too, so keep that in mind as you go forward with that.
We can install trainers.
Right to work.
You reminded me of something. Every year at the beginning of the year, we do that voice motion for council to select representatives to voice your opinion, your voice on the logic board. So I would like to recommend that myself and John Durbash are appointed as representatives to that, and Chief Durkee,
Myself and Chief Green.
if we can get a voice motion to reflect that.
So moved.
Yeah, so
All right, So we have a motion by, Danny Loesch, seconded by
Second.
Sue Mayberry. Any discussion? Roll call?
Scott Schwab,
Yes.
Bonnie Donaldson.
Yes.
Danny Loesch,
Yes.
Dan Buckler Jr.,
Yes.
Eric Worthington.
Yes.
Sue Mayberry.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And, did everybody get a chance to mull over the, job description and have any questions for me?
Yeah. I have a question that may not be, find it. Anybody else have a question while I'm trying to find my stuff? The legislation, resolution 2818, talks about the transport agreement between, Maslin and the city. Within your job description, it talks about this position transporting, people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Does that, it says, essential functions of this position, 40% transports and books prisoners. Does that have any relation to what that resolution is about?
No, that's, Stark County Sheriff's Department does an excellent job in transporting our prisoners from jail that are incarcerated through their court appearances.
And that's what the resolution's about?
No, that's the resolution.
That's the resolution.
The job description's more when you arrest somebody on duty and have to transport them to the Stark County, jail. Or if you go out of the area on a warrant and transport somebody to jail.
What is searches and booze prisoners? What is that?
Books,
Oh, books.
yeah.
Books. I didn't know, I was trying to
Yeah,
figure
I
that out.
suppose
I
you
thought,
did.
I gotta figure this out.
I'm gonna say.
Booze.
It's a typo, yeah.
I thought, what is booze? I've never,
I got Otis in jail.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's a typo, yeah.
yeah, I know. And I'm not trying to be, critical. I'm just under inherently hazardous or physical demanding work conditions. Does a sergeant, I guess, works in the vicinity of runways, stairs, scaffolds, dock boards, bridge plates? I mean, that's,
Well, I mean.
is it chasing people?
Yeah, this is,
That's-
I think all encompasses the liability, that the, our Clemson and Nelson Associates
Okay.
wants to put out there. Just, there are occasions where they might be called to,
Has exposure to chemical compounds found in the office environment, example, toner and correction fluid.
I guess,
I
somebody
was like,
somewhere.
what? I breathe that all the
Somebody somewhere,
time.
Yeah.
I just, okay.
Overanalysis leads to paralysis.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask a question?
It's just
Sure.
very detailed. I mean, I just was,
Yep.
that's all.
Chief Sword said that, we voted for Officer Barabash and him to be the representatives. Don't we have to have a separate vote for Chief Durkee and Chief, and
I
we
don't-
just voted once, and
Yeah.
if we're gonna do two, there should be two separate ones, shouldn't it?
No, I think it's just, everybody appointed on the logic board, do we
Yeah,
always?
that's what the, yeah.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what-
Well, then I misunderstood,
Okay.
I thought it was two
Yeah,
separate.
No problem, I appreciate it.
Those are probably,
Yeah.
I just
kind of-
thought I'd ask.
Alrighty,
Other than that, do you want us to, does this need to be, how soon you need this actually approved by us?
5 years ago.
5 years ago? No.
I mean, it's just, we're waiting on this step to just take the next step in notifying civil service that the job
So we
description-
approve it and it goes to civil service,
Yes,
right? Does council, anyone on council need further, we don't need to take this to a committee, do we?
I wouldn't
mean-
think so.
I don't think so.
No.
Would a voice motion suffice on the job description? Checking with the Charlotte. Yeah. Yeah, I'd be fine with that.
Anybody wanna make that motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the job description of the police sergeant, just with the one typo, fixed, and that's.
Second.
Okay, so we have motion by Sue Mayberry, seconded by Bonnie Donaldson. Any discussion? Roll call?
Danny Loesch,
Yes.
Dan Booker Jr.,
Yes.
Scott Schwab,
Yes.
Sue Mayberry,
Yes.
Bonnie Donaldson.
Yes.
Eric Whittington.
Thank you very much. And lastly, a few months ago, Skipco's had a vehicle stolen out of their impound lot. And we had no clues to go on, and, recently they had two more. They, went in and, disabled the fence and removed the vehicles, but, a Skipco employee found one of the cars nearby. And, we were able to do surveillance on the vehicle, and we put a tracker on the vehicle, and actually watched it at the same time. Sure enough, about 1 in, a box truck comes along and they dump out a guy, and he jumps in the car, and the chase is on. And so we captured him. So officers came in off duty at 1 in and conducted interviews, and they confessed to everything and confessed to the earlier incident. Actually, how that went down, they confessed to where the second car was that was stolen that night. We sent Akron PD to that location, and they found the third car from a while ago. So they, so that's just officers that are invested in their community and want to go above and beyond. Instead of just taking the car and giving it back, they said, let's sit on this thing and let's capture these guys, you know, and get some criminal charges. So Skipco's employees were great, and the officers did a great job. And matter of fact, one of our officers is recommending commendations for all the officers, including Lawrence Township officers. When we talk about working with Lawrence Township, our officers work really well together, our departments, and we're gonna include their two officers that were involved in the case in our accommodations. So they did a really good job, and I appreciate their hard work.
Was the box truck stolen too?
No, they ran it from U-Haul, and fire department came out because during the course of the tiny pursuit, they had 50-gallon drum of oil leaking out of it into our sewer system. So, but there was all kinds of miscellaneous stuff in there that more than likely was stolen. So
They weren't local, were they?
no, Akron. One was actually from Chicago and was telling me how Chicago police shot him a couple of years ago and had a bullet hole in him.
And he
So-
didn't learn anything from it, did he, evidently?
No, he did, because he gave up right away, and
Okay.
so yeah, maybe we're fortunate.
I was gonna say, you got out of Chicago quick enough.
Yeah.
You learned from it.
So officers are doing a good job.
Yep.
That's all I have.
All right, any other questions for Chief Schwartz? All right, moving on to engineer. Mr. Dulesky is on vacation this week, he'll be at our next meeting, so. Did, we need to do anything with his contract formally, or?
We have a second reading tonight.
Mayor,
His
I was
name-
gonna
put his name
ask
tag.
you,
Yep.
are we going to request he be at every meeting? Because there's a limit of what it costs us for the regular
Yep.
fee of $1,100 a month, and he's gonna be at each meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, and as well as the Planning Commission and Heritage Society meetings.
Do we need to change his name tag?
Yes, we will.
Mr. Bohr?
No, we're gonna call him Bill too.
Okay.
All right, and then, yeah, street department, wanted me to let you know, that we're exploring the, a used bucket truck, the bucket truck we had, I told them if they couldn't get it certified, we needed to stop using it, so, they stopped using it, but they're looking at some used models. And, they also are, I think we have a PO for a landscape trailer, and, the, Christmas tree and the wreaths will be coming down Monday.
Use that as an aerial.
Okay. And, public utilities? No report. Planning and zoning? No report. Finance director?
Thank you, Mayor. Few things tonight. Each year at this time, we, if if you recall, our utility rates are tied to the consumer price index, and so we have to adopt the new rates for the upcoming year. The challenge we have is they used to print or publish a consumer price index that measured the inflation rates for the Akron, Cleveland area. They no longer do that. I guess Ohio is losing some clout in the consumer price index measuring market, so they don't do an Ohio specific one anymore, or even just the Akron, Cleveland, and so it's a bit of a challenge. Where the official consumer price index is measured in October, that's what they tie the Social Security rates to and stuff, and that called for a 2.8% increase. That's the rate that Social Security is gonna go up this year. The most recent CPI though was for November, and because of the drop in gas prices, that rate is now at 2.2%. So if I were making a recommendation, it would be to go with the 2.2% because it's just a little more conservative, a little more citizen friendly, and it does reflect our current fuel pricing model.
What was it before? What do we have it, what was it at before?
Last year it was at like 1.4%, but the inflation is starting to take a hold a little bit, so the rates are going up. So I think in years past, we've done a voice motion to accept the rate.
I'll make a motion to accept the finance director's recommendation in using the CPI percentage of 2.2 for our utility.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Sue Mayberry, second by Dan Booker Jr. Any discussion? Roll call?
Scott Schwab.
Yes.
Bonnie Allison.
Yes.
Danny Loesch.
Yes.
Sue Mayberry.
Yes.
Dan Booker Jr.
Yes.
Eric Worthington.
Thank you for that. Next one is the first purchase order on here. Purchase order is a multi-vendor 9423. When we passed the healthcare agreement to go to the COG and then the amended union agreements, we had agreed that there would be a $500 stipend to the employees. I wasn't sure if that falls under a payroll classification for audit purposes or just a payment option, and since it exceeded the 13.5, I figured just the safest thing would be to bring it as a PO for you to approve, but I just wanted to give you the background of why that came up, and it's basically just honoring the union agreements and wanting to make sure we're covered for audit purposes. Purchase order number 11,951 to Core in Maine. Basically what this one is reflecting is we had a little bit of leeway in the operating budgets at year end in the water and sewer, and what I was trying to do was carry over a little bit of this money towards this year to start looking at maybe automating our water meters and stuff, and this is what they estimated the software would cost to get started. And talking to Mr. Schwab over the last day or so, he's brought up a couple very valid questions that I could not answer, and so what I would ask that you do is just table this one until we can have a public service committee meeting, and I have a little bit of time to come up with those answers and work with the service or the utility guys to maybe do a presentation to you on the metering project and what that's gonna entail and hopefully a total cost for that. So just asking you to table this one for tonight until I can get that. And then just one thing I wanted to clarify from you, as far as from our fire department discussion earlier, are you wanting me to come back to you at the next council meeting for January 15th with fire department numbers, budget impacts, or do you want me to get that for whenever our next committee meeting is gonna be? I guess, do you wanna go into a long discussion during the council about that, or hold it until committee? And it's just more so how you want me to structure the next week and a half?
Well, it'd be good to have the information before we, meet with the trustees or anything on this.
Okay.
At least have that information
Okay.
available.
Well, then I'll prepare it for next council
If
meeting.
everybody else wants to go along with that.
Okay.
So what scenarios do you want, I mean, Bill's spending a lot of time on this. I think we wanna be more specific, so he's gonna prepare numbers on modeling that the township did. And then are there any other rates or?
I think Scott
Go with
had
the average.
proposed
Just
at
what Scott
60.
did.
Average if you
See what the average would be, model what the township did, and maybe another one on the lower side.
Okay, right.
Way lower side.
The two sets of numbers.
Alrighty. Any other questions for Mr. Rouse? Mr. Cozy, you're up.
Yes, Mr. Wilson, members of council. Just a few items. Number one, I saw when we talked about the bucket truck, the fire department was making comments, that we are looking at a 55-foot boom truck. We're finding out that those larger trucks actually last longer because we don't, the smaller trucks, we use them and extend them, they just don't hold up. So we're gonna buy probably a larger truck that will last us a long time. It's on a big international chassis with stanchions, so it's a lot safer vehicle to use too. Let's see, I'll be, since we approved the voice vote for this police sergeant's job description, I'll be convening the Civil Service Commission, and we'll schedule the civil service test for that position, and do the ads and postings, and everything we need to do for that. Also, I sent everybody an email today, the Acton Canyon Area Agency on Aging. I'll send a copy of the email to everybody again. They would like us to appoint a member of our community to their council, but they would like the appointment done by January 16th. So, I don't know if that's coming up.
Remember-
I see
Of our
somebody out there in the
community?
audience that might be willing to do it.
It doesn't have to be an elected official, it can be a member of our community that has an interest.
Someone who's involved in a lot of committee action, and she's trying to avoid eye contact, but that won't work. So, I'm gonna nominate Shel Rossi to that position.
Just picking on me because I have white hair.
No, that has nothing to do with it. You didn't make eye contact, so you're nominated. All right, do we need a formal nomination, or can we voice motion to?
Well, we can do it on the 15th, our next regular scheduled meeting is the 15th. So, I mean, you
So
can-
she would have a little bit of time to
you can do
find
it
someone
today,
else?
or you can wait till the 15th, and it's going to file on the 16th, so.
All right.
It's up, but
All right, pressure's on, you got a little stay of execution.
we have to remember next
Yeah.
meeting, so.
Well, did she accept?
No, I think Chuck's willing to back her up if she doesn't wanna do it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm willing to second her nomination.
All right. Any other questions? Do you wanna just do it, Shel, or make it easy on us, or we can do it the hard way?
Let's do it the hard way.
Okay, see if you can find someone else.
Okay.
Or we could find out, I mean, I can give you a copy of the email, Rochelle, you can contact them, see what it entails. This is probably something that we can pay you mileage if you have to drive to Canton or Akron for a meeting.
All right, let me see what it is.
Okay.
I'm not gonna do it.
And, that's all I have.
All right.
Mark, where would we use a 55-foot bucket in the city? What would they use that for?
Well, the main thing we use a bucket truck for right now are traffic lights. The
Okay.
nice thing about the 55-foot boom, instead of getting directly underneath it, we can actually be off the roadway and just boom over to the traffic light now. It's a lot safer for the employees. We also use a bucket truck for trees. We still do a lot of tree trimming around, around the parks and around the community. Those are the
Sidewalks.
primary issues. And then, the Christmas tree is another thing we use the bucket truck for, and also the Christmas decorations downtown.
We borrowed Lawrence Township's this year,
Yeah. And theirs is not in very good shape either.
full of mold.
I have a question, Mark. The zoning code update, has that been completed?
Right now, the zoning director has given copies to the planning commission, they're reviewing them right now. And, I think the next meeting, they're gonna be discussing, the changes. And, I met with him today, and that was part of what we met about, and that he hopes to have it all done by March.
Because I know that when you're changing the zoning code, you have to actually there's a procedure with legislation.
But it has to come back to city council.
It's gotta be legislation from planning to council, and then there's a whole process to get that.
And then he's assuming that because there'll be a lot of questions on city council's part, he's hoping to get it done by March. Yeah, Steve's done this before to other communities, and, basically, he's actually rewriting the code again for us, so, yeah, and then we're gonna have, probably Alyssa will type it.
Has he had any help from an engineer or anything on that? Is he getting any legal assistance?
He has what RPC
Because-
has done, and he also has what we've had before, and he's merging the two together.
Will that include a new zoning map for any zoning changes?
Well, I don't anticipate zoning changes with the updating of the code, but we are working on a new zoning map because of the annexations we did last year, so we're gonna use that for that.
Now, will
And I gave
the,
that information to the engineer already.
will the property, will the Puffenberger property need to be rezoned, cause isn't it zoned R1 right now? Doesn't it need to be rezoned?
I don't know, that was a question that I had asked the previous meeting, whether we should rezone it because of what's going in there, and I think we should.
Well, isn't that something that would planning deal with that? Or
Well,
not?
we would go to somebody from the city would go to the planning commission to tell them what we plan to do, and they would make a recommendation back to city council. Because actually the planning commission makes a recommendation, city council actually changes the zone, so.
Cause I remember us talking
Yeah,
about that needing
yeah.
to be rezoned out there, and I just thought I'd ask.
I will bring it before them, we meet next week, don't we? Plan?
On the third Thursday? Isn't it the third Thursday
Yeah,
of the
the
month?
week after.
Week after-
17th?
Yeah.
Week after that?
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right, anything else, Mr. Joseph? Anyone else have questions for him?
No.
All right, moving on to my report. Let's start with the easy one. Charter review, Mr. Feldman's favorite topic. I think our charter calls for us to review it every 10 years, and so that would be due in 2020. Can you start working on that now, Scott?
Not to 2020.
Not until 2020?
It was 2019.
Okay.
Bring it up, next year.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Okay. You can set up put in, perspective of who you want on the committee, but.
I did that last year.
Yeah, I know.
So I have to wait another year?
You can't set up you can't set up the commission until, the 10th anniversary of the,
Okay.
anniversary of the,
All right. Thank you.
and you can't change the rules now either.
All right. First thing I want to mention is, most of us should have received a trash bill. I talked to Mr. Thompson from Republic Services today, and my bill was $48 and some odd cents for 3 months, which, it used to be around $36, $37. And so I just wanted to make sure residents are aware, depending on your billing cycle. So when you became a Republic Service customer, that determined your anniversary date or your billing date. So some of our residents may have received a separate bill for $4 approximately, and that included the 3% raise and then 78 cents a month, which for the recycling fee, and so 3 times 78 cents plus the 3% raise was around $4. My bill said $48 and some odd cents, so the billing cycle I was on took care of that. So if you're one of our residents who got a separate bill, over a period of time, it will work itself out. So just wanna make our residents and council aware of that. Next up is newsletter articles, and just wanna remind department heads, if you haven't submitted your newsletter article, Alyssa's working on those for us. And daddy-daughter dance, we're not gonna have it in the newsletter, but it is February 2nd. The newsletter is due to come out February 1st. But
Wasn't the deadline the Wednesday?
January 1st, yeah, but
No,
what?
Wednesday, the second.
Yeah, but I guess what I'm saying, Sue, is there's no point in putting it in the newsletter because the newsletter may come out February 1st and it may be late, so we're gonna put in the mother-son fun night.
Oh.
We'll put that in there, but here's the details for the daddy-daughter dance. It's Saturday, February 2nd, from 6 to 8 p.m. at the middle school, where we've had it in the past. Tickets will go on sale January 21st, but families can still purchase tickets at the door. Tickets are $8 in advance and $10 at the door. Flyers will be dropped off at the schools on January 14th. So, and then, like I said, the details for the mother-son event will be in March, and we'll have that in the newsletter. So. The next topic I have is the downtown planners. Bonnie, did that gentleman
No.
get back to you? So.
Well, yes, he did,
Oh.
but he's too swamped.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, so, wanted to, we had the price there from, Mr. D'Angelo. I think if he does a larger quantity, I can get the price reduced for the, planters for the trees downtown. And, we wanna move forward with, cutting down, the rest of the trees and, getting these planters built, through the winter here so that they're ready to go in March. And then, Mr. Whittington, you're hopefully gonna find us some trees to put in there that are zoned what?
Zone 2.
Zone 2 trees?
I have a horticulturist giving me a list of them.
Okay, so,
So what's the money?
the money, if we did, however many you wanna do of them, if we got another 17 planters, we have one. What I'm thinking is approximately 12 on Canal Street and then another 6 on Cherry Street to spread them out.
They should be somewhat strategic,
Yeah.
staggered in a way
Yeah.
where it's not like they're clumped on one,
Yeah.
I
Right.
mean, I'm not an
Yeah.
expert at that, but just to,
Yeah. Yeah, so, what we were thinking initially was like maybe 3 on each side of Canal Street between Cherry and Market, okay? And then 3 on, the south end of Canal Street, maybe 2 down there and 2, one up in front of the Affinity Consultants and one up by, the VFW in that general area. But like you said, spread them out evenly so that, they look appealing.
So all trees are gonna come down,
Yep,
even if they're not causing a problem?
they're all causing a problem, or they're going to cause a problem, so that's,
I'll give you a quick example. We just had, right in historic downtown, our shop flooded from the toilet and sink and everything. And my landlord had to get it all snaked out, and they just pulled out a massive mess of roots.
Mm-hmm.
And it's,
But you've got trees behind you as well, down in the
yeah,
park
but
too, that would get the lower,
I don't know if they'd go all the way under the canal up into the building. So the line goes right down the sidewalk of the front of the buildings
huh?
when they snaked it. So I know I hate to see the trees get cut down right now, but that's one of the big reasons of doing this with the box, so that they won't be cut down later. And then every 10 years replenish the boxes with new trees and replant the adult trees all over the city and the parks.
How big can those trees get in those boxes? I'm just
It
curious.
just depends on the tree that we end up picking out.
Cause you might get a tree that was looking really nice, and then if you think that it's time to go to match the other ones, I mean, it's,
We don't have to get them that small either. I mean, we can get something middle of the road.
so
Yeah,
Mayor,
I mean-
what money are you looking at for
Well,
those boxes?
his estimate was $1150 for the boxes, $1,150, all cedar and all stainless steel hardware and everything. And those have the benches, the ones that he had out there for, Christmas on the canal. the one. And, so if we commit to doing the other 17, we can get that price reduced. I don't know how significantly, but, I'll beat them up as much as I can. So. But I think it's kudos to when that downtown renovation was done in the 90s, you know, that, we had money left over and they put it aside, and I like to think that that's what we're doing with this money is, you know.
How much is it?
Mr. Rouse, we have 40,000 in that account.
40,000.
We still have, I think, around $20,000 left.
And we're spending what, over 4,000 a year right now just in sidewalk repair down there?
Yes, we are.
So, not to mention, I don't know if any other buildings are having any plumbing issues or
Well,
if those are having issues with the roots growing into their basement foundation, so. This would be the only way to do it, but then trees will never be killed again down there. They'll always be.
yeah, that really wasn't my goal to kill trees.
Sure.
It wasn't. All right, so, if you're okay with that, we'll move forward with, preparing a PO, and get that work done so that the boxes would be ready in March. And then we can, Mr. Whittington can get us some trees to put in them, and spring will be springing. Okay, thank you. Do I need a voice motion to do that, or?
Just for the PO.
Yeah, just for the PO. Okay. All righty. Boy, you guys are easy tonight.
We're tired.
Okay. All righty, then I'm gonna shut up and move over to, Mr. Earl, back there,
Yes.
Parks and Rec.
Yes, I already have the whole report, but I have a little concern about when we get, the Y up there, are we gonna have the crew and the specific machines to mow the grass and do that, all of our parks? Right now, I know we struggle a little bit with Heritage Lake, cause when they have to mow it twice a week, it takes them a lot of time to mow down there, and I don't know if we have enough time to do on the hill too, or are we gonna leave something behind?
Well,
I'm bringing it up now, so we try to get prepared for it.
Yeah.
If that
okay,
can happen.
well, yeah, and I think, you know, anytime you are adding costs, just like we're talking about with the fire department or anything else we've done with the sergeant's position, we look for revenue to offset that additional cost. And, you know, we had the Nichter property out there, and one local, business owner approached us about, running out of space. And so, you know, that might be an alternative where if we're gonna replace those soccer fields down here, why pay somebody to mow a
Do that
soccer
over there,
field
yeah.
when we can,
Oh, sure, I agree.
yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to bring it up so we get prepared for it. It's becoming.
Yeah, so just wanna prepare the council that the Nichter property might be on the market, so if anybody approaches us. Sales.
That's all, thank you.
All right, thanks, Earl. Mr. Foreman?
Mr. Mayor, members of council, I have no report per se. I'll be happy to answer any questions council may have of me regarding current or present legislation.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Foreman? All right, moving on to third readings. You don't have any? Okay, second readings, go ahead, Lisa.
Second readings, ordinance 5118, and ordinance amending ordinance 3015, municipal income taxes and repealing any ordinances in conflict therewith. Resolution 2618, a resolution by the council of the city of Canal Fulton, Ohio to enter into an agreement with Environmental Design Group to develop a Canal Fulton Community Park Master Plan. Resolution 2718, a resolution by the council of the city of Canal Fulton, Ohio to amend city code section 181.03 by levying a surcharge of 0.5% on taxable income as defined in the section for deposit to the general fund, and instructing the Stark County Board of Elections to conduct an election on said proposal on May 7th, 2019. Resolution 2818, a resolution by the council of the city of Canal Fulton, Ohio to enter into a transportation agreement with the city of Massillon, Ohio for the transportation of incarcerated prisoners. Resolution 3018, a resolution by the council of the city of Canal Fulton, Ohio to enter into a contract with the city of Maslin, Ohio, Law Department providing for prosecution of criminal and traffic offenders in the Maslin Municipal Court and performance of other related traffic and criminal legal services for Canal Fulton, Ohio. Resolution 3118, a resolution by the council of the city of Canal Fulton, Ohio to enter into an agreement with CivPro Engineering LLC to provide professional engineering services for the year 2019 for the city of Canal Fulton. First readings, Resolution 3218, a resolution by the council of the city of Canal Fulton, Ohio to amend Resolution 2517 to convey 3 1/2 acres to the Canal Fulton YMCA subject to conditions and restrictions and repealing any resolution in conflict therewith. Ordinance 53.
Can I interrupt right there? We had a lot of members from the board, the YMCA committee board members here, and the only difference in this resolution and past that council has done is that we actually reduced the size of the land that we were gonna deed to the Canal Fulton YMCA. So given that, I was wondering if there's any interest in that we suspend the rules on that, get this passed so they can go to their bank or whatever and do their legal maneuverings to secure financing or whatever I imagine they need to do. So at this time, I'd like to make a
I thought there
motion
were a couple other things.
Suspend the rules?
that were
suspend the
changed.
rules on that.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Scott Schwab, seconded by Danny Loesch. Any discussion?
I thought there was one other thing that was supposed to be changed also.
What else need to change?
No, I thought there was one.
Yeah, the free.
The bathrooms are front.
No, there was something else too about changing.
No, I think it was the 45,000 for
Oh,
utility connections. And then.
it was for the residents to have a break on their joint, wasn't that supposed to be?
Now that's gone.
Yeah, that's gone.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right, so it needs to be changed. I mean,
Yeah, right.
Well, that's
When did it actually break? Okay.
March, I would.
March 1st is the goal date.
March. Okay, we got this passed by the 1st of February, what's the rush?
They gotta go to the bank and secure the financing.
We actually have a pre-bid meeting next week.
They went out to bids before Christmas, I think.
Yes, sir.
They're ready to get started.
That
so-
helps me go to the planning commission too, if this thing is passed and it's already done. So, I can bring Tim Schetzer.
Okay,
It's got a first and a second.
all right. Any other discussion? Roll call?
Danny Loesch,
Yes.
Dan Booker Jr.,
Yes.
Scott Schwab,
Yes.
Sue Mayberry,
No,
Bonnie Donaldson,
no.
Eric Whittington.
Yes.
Okay.
Motion to pass 3218 under suspension.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Scott Schwab, seconded by Danny Loesch. Any discussion?
Item number 6 was directly taken from Mark's email that he had sent out to consider in this. And I know that when the motion was made, the incidentals weren't in it regarding the grading and all that. Now, what I'm asking is this work, it says this work will be done on why is the city park a part of this? Why do we have to bring the park into this? This work, the middle of 6, this work will be done on the city parkland through some grading on YMC land may be needed for proper park drainage. What exactly is that?
That's a catch basin.
But
When they put that parking lot in, from what I understand, some of the runoff has to be moved towards the channel.
Right.
To
So-
the
But
east
is that like,
side.
is that a necessary thing to put in legislation?
Yeah, I
The
think,
drainage and everything. I mean, it's like, why is it part of this?
Well, the reason I put it in there is in case if we're running an outlet pipe from the, say we build a pond out there, the outlet overflow pipe has to run across YMCA land, and somebody shows up, why are you on YMCA land? Well, because we have to do it for the park, and I don't want anybody coming back later and saying, well, you can't set foot on YMCA land because that's YMCA land. This gives us provision to do that kind of work if we need to for the park. We might not have to, I don't know, the engineering plans aren't done yet. But I'm just trying to protect the city's interest here. So,
With Stark Soil and Water, you know, they've looked at the plans, and that's what they're telling us, is we need to have a retention pond there. Whenever you move more than an acre of ground, you're gonna need to have a plan to deal with the water, and that's what we're doing, is building a retention pond, so.
Well, we're not gonna, there's nothing in here, we're not gonna split anything with snow removal or anything like that with the wire. We're not getting any, you know.
Maintenance agreements, just, like I said, it's basically in lieu of, the public restrooms at no cost to the city, and opening, closing, and everything.
Right.
We talked about, and then the other thing now that they've offered to us is the lighting in the parking lot. The electricity will be paid by the Y, so.
Do we know about how much this extra work involved in the grading and that's gonna cost the city?
Well, it's gonna be paid out of the grant money.
Is it gonna be equal to the money we would have paid for the restrooms? Cause what are we,
we had to do this anyways.
right, but what are we
Yeah.
gonna get out of that $750,000? How much money are we gonna have left for the other side of the property?
My goal, Sue, going into this, until we go out to bids, and, you know, and that's another
Right.
an incentive to pass the legislation, is I would feel it's really successful if we had a road access in, you know, in from Canal Street, the parking lot, the street lights,
I
restrooms,
understand all that.
okay? And I really hope we have enough money left over to put in a walking trail that circumvents the, you know, goes around the whole, property. And that's part of the grant that, or the, study we're paying for, from EDG with the parks, and we'll have citizens input. Because we may have citizens input, and people may say, we don't want a walking trail around the whole thing, but.
Well, what I don't really appreciate, and I'm not trying to, I thought we were gonna have 3 readings on this. And you know something, the amount of time that we wasted, the months we wasted talking about what can we use this park money for, never should have happened that way. We should have known that from the get-go.
Yeah, we didn't learn that until we went down and met with ODNR though, so I mean, I guess we could have
But
scheduled that
the
meeting
500,
earlier,
the initial $500 was assumed right out of the gate by the YMCA, and somebody told them they had $500 coming to them.
500,000.
500,000,
Yeah.
way before this.
Mhm.
And that should never have been promised, because we finally found out that we couldn't, because they couldn't share in that money.
I don't,
So I just think that we're at the final hour, we're now gonna suspend the rules, because there's a hurry. And for
What
me-
would change in two more meetings? I don't understand. We've all agreed to this over a year's time, if not longer. So,
It's just right protocol for me, so, you know, do what you want.
I just don't understand what possibly could change in the next month.
Who knows? A lot has changed over the last several months. That's just my opinion. I just don't understand the rush. But that's okay.
yeah.
You
and-
already, first and second, go ahead, we had
Yeah,
discussion,
and I guess
discussed.
I would add to Sue's comment, as much as I would love to get this done, and Danny, I'd love to get your input on it, because you're typically the guy who, you know,
Slows it down.
I think
None of
we've
us slowed
already,
it down on this end.
I know.
You know, I think we've already beat this dead horse long enough. I think it's just something we can just get moving
Of
on.
course we can.
It's just something, beginning of the year, let's let these guys start pulling things together and get it together. I don't have a problem with it.
yeah, not passing it by emergency, you're suspending the rules.
Right,
So it would still take 30 days to go into effect.
right.
Okay.
And it's just still, 3 readings is the required amount of time, that's all.
But it's still not gonna stop them from moving forward with financial end of it. I mean, you guys can still do your work there, right?
Banks gonna wanna know that we have this approval for the land.
Right.
So they're gonna say, well, if we're gonna give you a loan on a property, and you don't really have property security. And the whole thing is it's critical that we break ground on March first, because if we run past January first opening day and say we open March first of next year, it's detrimental to the impact of the membership, because everybody knows that New Year's resolution, they'll all sign up 1,000 memberships on January. And it'll take them, if they get in a situation like that, it takes them 2 or 3 years to recover from that. So it's real important that we break ground on March first.
All right, just based on the calendar, we'd be looking at, January 17th would be our next reading, and then because it's 5 Tuesdays, oh no, January 15th would be our next meeting, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then we'd go 3 weeks before we have another meeting, we wouldn't be approving it until February 5th, okay? Is that, everybody with me there? So we're looking at 5 weeks, and I guess I'm gonna ask Mr. Feldman to weigh in here. If we suspend the rules, and it takes 30 days to become law anyways, right?
Right.
Okay, what's the difference, so if we wait the 5 weeks and we pass it then, it becomes law the night that we pass it?
30 days.
30 days afterwards,
30 days
once
after
you
that.
pass under suspension, you wanna expedite it.
So
you
it
know,
does expedite it by 30 days, is what I'm asking?
If you pass it, yeah,
Under
under
suspension.
suspension.
Unless you pass it by emergency on the 3rd reading.
That's another option.
That's another option.
But
Yeah.
they can't go get
If
financing.
you want to completely expedite it, pass it under suspension. All right, tonight. That's council's decision, not mine.
Yeah. And I, once again, my goal here was always to get unanimous consensus around it, and I know this is breaking from that, and I'm struggling with it myself, so, I don't know, I want it to happen, I really do, but, I'll just turn it over to a vote, but I would, Sue and Bonnie, I know it's a bit
Well,
of a.
you know, you go from passing legislation last year to then the lease that was a monkey wrench for me. And it took us, months to
Work through that,
screw
yeah.
around with that?
Mhm.
And then we find out they can't even have the grant money, which they were told they could have it. All it would have taken was a conversation with ODNR way a long time ago.
Well, I think we had
It
some-
wasn't,
we had conversations with them,
well,
so, all right. All right, any other discussion? Roll call.
Scott Schwab.
Yes.
Bonnie Donaldson.
No.
Danny Loesch.
Yes.
Sue Mayberry.
no.
Dan Booker Jr.
Yes.
Eric Whittington.
Yes.
Excuse me, are we passing this under suspension or?
Yes.
Yes, this
Yes,
is
under
the second
suspension.
one, this
Yeah.
is passed.
Second.
Are we passing it as an emergency?
No. Under
So,
suspension.
30
Wait
days.
30 days.
Right.
All right. Back to first readings. Melissa?
Ordinance 5318, an ordinance by the council of the city of Canal Fulton, Ohio, approving the canal lands 3 annexations of 120.987 acres, more or less, from Lawrence Township, Stark County, Ohio.
Purchase orders. Purchase order, it's actually MV 9423, employee stipend in the amount of $13,500 for the 500 stipend for full-time FOP members, Teamster members, and non-bargaining employees.
Make a motion to approve PO 9423 to MV employee stipend in the amount of $13,500.
Is that Dan?
That was me.
Okay. We motion by Sue Mayberry, second by Dan Booker Jr. Now, discussion? I guess, and I don't know, I just wanna point out that that's, the non-bargaining employees are full-time non-bargaining employees, right?
Yes, I attached the list.
Okay. All right, any other discussion? Roll call?
Danny Lush?
Yes.
Dan Booker Jr.?
Yes.
Scott Schwab?
Yes.
Sue Mayberry?
Yes.
Bonnie Donaldson?
Yes.
Eric Whittington?
Purchase order number 11,948 to Municipal Income Tax Solutions in the amount of $5,570 for our 2008 or 19 income tax software.
Motion to approve PO 11948 to Municipal Income Tax Solutions in the amount of $5,570.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Dan Booker Jr., seconded by Bonnie Donaldson. Any discussion? Roll call?
Scott Schwab?
Yes.
Bonnie Donaldson?
Yes.
Danny Lush?
Yes.
Sue Mayberry?
Yes.
Dan Booker Jr.?
Yes.
Eric Whittington?
This next one is the one I want you to please table. It's purchase order number 11,951 to Core and Main LP in the amount of $6,596.44 for the handheld device and software support, for automated meter reading project.
Motion to table PO 11951.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by, Scott Schwab, seconded by Dan Booker Jr. Any discussion? Roll call?
Dan Booker Jr.?
Yes.
Eric Whittington?
Yes.
Sue Mayberry?
Yes.
Danny Lush?
Yes.
Scott Schwab?
Yes.
Bonnie Donaldson?
Yes.
Purchase order number 11,937 to the Auditor of State in the amount of $13,000 for the 2018 financial statement preparation services.
Motion to approve PO 11937 to the Auditor of State in the amount of $13,000.
Second.
We have a motion by Sue Mayberry, seconded by Scott Schwab. Any discussion? Roll call?
Scott Schwab?
Yes.
Danny Lush?
Yes.
Sue Mayberry?
Yes.
Dan Booker Jr.?
Yes.
Eric Whittington?
Yes.
Bonnie Donaldson?
Yes.
Purchase order number 11,938 to Star Communication in the amount of $12,600. This is for our City Hall, and office phone services.
Motion to approve PO 11938 in the amount of 126.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Scott Schwab, seconded by Dan Booker Jr. Any discussion? Roll call?
Scott Schwab?
Yes.
Bonnie Donaldson?
Yes.
Danny Lush?
Yes.
Dan Booker Jr.?
Yes.
Eric Whittington?
Yes.
Sue Mayberry?
Yes.
Purchase order number 11,939 to Huntington Public Capital Corp. in the amount of $28,920.70 for our dump truck payment. This is for the dump truck we purchased in 2015.
Motion to approve PO 11939 in the amount of 28,920 to Huntington Bank.
Second.
Motion by Scott Schwab, seconded by Dan Booker Jr. Any discussion?
It's stated as a lease on here, wording, that's not correct, it's actual payment, right?
It's a lease, and then we buy it out at the end of the term of the lease.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
gotcha, thanks.
Okay, any other discussion? Roll call?
Bonnie Donaldson?
Yes.
Sue Mayberry?
Yes.
Eric Whittington?
Yes.
Dan Booker Jr.?
Yes.
Danny Lush?
Yes.
Scott Schwab?
Yes.
Purchase order number 11,940 to Verizon Wireless in the amount of $20,500 for our 2019 wireless phone line plan.
Motion to approve PO 11940 in the amount of $20,500 to Verizon Wireless.
Second.
We have a motion by Dan Booker Jr., seconded by Bonnie Donaldson. Any discussion? Roll call?
Danny Lush?
Yes.
Dan Booker Jr.?
Yes.
Scott Schwab?
Yes.
Sue Mayberry?
Yes.
Bonnie Donaldson?
Yes.
Eric Whittington?
Yes.
Purchase order 11,941 to Easton Telecom in the amount of $19,200 for special purpose phone lines. These are the phone lines to the lift stations, our dispatch, our 911, other things where we have to have dedicated lines.
Motion to approve 11941 in the amount of 19,200 to Easton Telecom.
Okay, we have more, discussion? Oh, I'm sorry. Scott made the motion, seconded by Eric, and now we have discussion. I did wanna, point out, when we go to that committee, that this is one of, the things that our, guys are looking at as far as the technology that's available by going to, cell phone technology.
Not having the hard lines here.
Yeah. Anyways, I just wanted to point that out. So we're spending some time studying this and we'll bring it to committee, so, thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call?
Scott Schwab.
Yes.
Bonnie Donaldson.
Yes.
Danny Loesch.
Yes.
Sue Mayberry.
Yes.
Dan Buck Junior.
Yes.
Eric Whittington.
Purchase order number 11,943 to the Stark County Educational Service Center in the amount of $407,000 for our 2019 health insurance.
Motion to pass PO 11943 to Stark County ESC in the amount of $407,000.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Sue Mayberry, second by Scott Schwab. Any discussion?
Is this for full 12 months, and from what I understand, we might get a 2-month holiday?
Yes.
We're hoping for 3.
Yeah.
We should get 3.
Are they kinda shading 2 at least?
I hope so.
I
We're
think,
gonna structure it to get 3 this year no matter what, because we overlap.
Yeah,
They
starting
have 2
December.
plan
Yeah.
years in our calendar year, so we for sure will get 2 in this current plan year, and we will make sure we take 1 in the second.
This is budgeted for 12 months though,
yeah.
so it's a possible savings of,
Yes.
okay.
And do you remember what our bill was? I'm sorry to throw a curveball at you, Bill, but, our total cost last year through the health plan, you remember what that number was? Okay.
280?
It was a big number, but I don't remember how
okay.
big.
All right, any other discussion? Roll call?
Dan Buck Junior.
Yes.
Eric Whittington.
Yes.
Sue Mayberry.
Yes.
Danny Loesch.
Yes.
Scott Schwab.
Yes.
Bonnie Donaldson.
Yes.
Purchase order number 11,944 to Logic in the amount of $110,000 for the 2019 fire and police dispatching service.
Motion approved, 11,944, in the amount of 110,000 for dispatch.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Scott Schwab, second by, Dan Booker Jr. You guys okay down there?
Yes.
Okay, roll call?
Scott Schwab.
Yes.
Danny Loesch.
Yes.
Sue Mayberry.
Yes.
Dan Buck Junior.
Yes.
Eric Whittington.
Yes.
Bonnie Donaldson.
Yes.
It's like always in the classroom.
Mhm.
Probably not me and Bill,
Yeah.
somebody else.
Yeah.
Wasn't me, it was
It's
Bonnie.
usually those two down there.
I wasn't even saying a word.
No one are, no one is, he's always the one
He's,
that,
he's
yeah,
talking to me, right?
he's that kid.
We're getting close here.
Okay, go ahead.
What I was asking is how much, if we got 3 months.
Stop pushing for the finish line here, Eric.
No, that's, Eric, that's
No
why,
caps on tonight.
Eric, that's why we call discussion, you know, any discussion. So, what's your question? We'll back up.
Well, how much would that save us if we got 3 months?
Take 12, divide 12 into,
I went to Kent State, that's why I was asking her.
Okay, 48, might be 48,000.
we could say 48,000,
Okay.
okay? Thank you.
Alright, purchase order number 11,945 to Ohio Edison for $257,000 for electricity.
Motion to approve PO 11945 to Ohio Edison in the amount of $257,000.
That was a ripping on Kent State, by the way, I'm sorry. Dave.
Oh, no, Danny Loesch got you. We got a motion by Dan Booker Jr., second by Danny Loesch. Any discussion? Roll call?
Scott Schwab.
Yes.
Bonnie Donaldson.
Yes.
Danny Loesch.
Yes.
Dan Booker Junior.
Yes.
Eric Whittington.
Yes.
Sue Mayberry.
Yes.
Purchase order number MV 9423 in the amount of $43,200 for motor vehicle fuel.
Motion to pass PO 9423 in the amount of $43,200 for fuel.
Second.
Okay, motion by Sue Mayberry, second by Scott Schwab. Any discussion? Roll call?
Bonnie Donaldson.
Yes.
Sue Mayberry.
Yes.
Eric Whittington.
Yes.
Dan Booker Junior.
Yes.
Danny Loesch.
Yes.
Scott Schwab.
Yes.
Purchase order number 11,946 to Cargill Inc. in the amount of $20,000 for road salt.
If no one makes that motion, that means it can't snow.
Yeah. Motion approved, 11,946, the amount of 20,000 for Cargill Road Salt.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Scott Schwab, second by Dan Booker Jr. Any discussion? Roll call?
Danny Loesch.
Yes.
Dan Booker Junior.
Yes.
Scott Schwab.
Yes.
Sue Mayberry.
Yes.
Bonnie Donaldson.
Yes.
Eric Whittington.
Yes.
last one, purchase order number 11,947 to Dominion East Ohio in the amount of $24,000 for natural gas.
Motion to approve PO 11947, the amount of $24,000 to Dominion East Ohio.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Dan Booker Jr., second by Bonnie Donaldson. Any discussion? I would like to point out, I called the gas company the other day. I think our rate is at $3.43 through our city aggregate program. And, I called the other day and I think it was like $5. Hopefully our citizens are saving money.
We're locked in for 2 years too.
We're locked in at that rate for 2 years, right?
This year and next one.
Yeah. All right.
Well, yeah, I think this is the second year, isn't it?
No, this is,
It is.
let's start,
Yeah, we did it this summer, didn't we?
yeah, so we're a half a year into it. All right, roll call?
Scott Schwab?
Yes.
Bonnie Donaldson?
Yes.
Sandy Lowe?
Yes.
Sue Mayberry?
Yes.
Dan Booker Jr.?
Yes.
Eric Whittington?
Yes.
There's no bills to report?
After those POs, I wouldn't expect them. Old, new, other business?
Mayor, I have a few things I wanted to ask. Did you ever have a chance to review the EDG 2014 contract for the YMC, not the Y, but the park master plan?
Yeah.
Because of the big disparaging,
I did look at
from
it.
7,000 to 23.
Yeah, I did look at it.
That's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
I don't care if we're getting a grant and they know it and they wanna just jack up their price.
Yep, and, I called her and, we did not follow up with the holidays, but I will reach
Okay.
out to her
I
again.
mean,
But
I
I
just-
did look at it and, there were,
Cause if they're gonna jack it up just cause it's a grant,
let's look for somebody else.
we've dealt with them before, that's
absolutely.
just like, it's like, oh, accepting that's an answer?
Well,
We're gonna-
everything's gone up in the last 3 years, or 4 years. I mean, the economy, the way it's gone, I mean, those are 2014 dollars, now we're talking 2018, 2019.
But that's like triple the cost.
Yeah.
That's real close.
Oh, okay, that's, I mean, if
Yeah.
if you're gonna wait with your response, that's
We're
fine.
we're gonna push the issue.
Since we did pass and adopt new council rules tonight, and we did, nominate the committee on committees, the three of us. So, at the next meeting, what we need to do, prior to that, we need to stipulate that in a, advertisement, that the committee on committees will meet probably at 6:45 to just establish the committees. Because it doesn't take no time and we normally can do it in even less than 15 minutes. So we need to do that. We'll have to probably make a motion to do that. So can we do that? Cause I got a couple
Yeah.
other things here
Yeah, let's do
to
that.
finish
I
up with.
need a motion.
I make a motion for the committee on committees to meet at 6:45 next,
That would be January 15th.
right, the 15th.
To establish the committees on all of our committees, safety, finance, all that.
Okay, we have a motion by Bonnie Donaldson, need a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, second by Sue Mayberry. All right, any discussion? Roll call?
Scott Schwab?
Yes.
Danny Loesch?
Yes.
Sue Mayberry?
Yes.
Dan Booker Jr.?
Yes.
Eric Whittington?
Yes.
Bonnie Donaldson?
Yes.
Another thing, I had sent out, meeting minutes from the last two personnel/finance committee meetings, one in March and one in September that we had not approved, and I sent them to everyone, and if everybody has read them and is in agreement to approve them, the majority of us are on both committees, and we all met at the same time. I'm not sure if everybody was here, and if there was anybody that wasn't here, I'm not sure how that will work, but.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But I make a motion that, we approve the March 6th, 2018 Personnel/Finance Committee meeting minutes.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Sue Mayberry, second by Scott Schwab, any discussion? Roll call?
Dan Booker Jr.?
Yes.
Eric Whittington?
Yes.
Sue Mayberry?
Yes.
Danny Loesch?
Yes.
Scott Schwab?
Yes.
Bonnie Donald?
Yes.
And then make a motion that we approve the Joint Finance Personnel Committee meeting of September the 4th, 2018.
Second.
And what was the date on that, Sue?
September 4th, 2018.
Okay, and that
Is
was.
this something that full council will vote on then? Eric's not on either one of those
Yeah,
committees.
you just received the minutes.
He
Okay.
got them, I sent them to everyone.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so we have a motion by Sue Mayberry, seconded by Scott Schwab. Any discussion? Roll call?
Dan Booker Jr.?
Yes.
Eric Whittington?
Yes.
Sue Mayberry?
Yes.
Danny Loesch?
Yes.
Scott Schwab?
Yes.
Bonnie Donaldson?
Yes.
Okay.
All
And
right,
I think,
pardon me.
well, thank you, Sue,
That's all.
but I mean, I think that's really important for us organizationally to try to do that after, I mean, we need to get those minutes, produced by whoever the chairperson is for that, committee, so it really helps. All right. Anything else? Old, new, other business?
I'd just like to make a quick statement. I don't think that the negotiations with ODNR and the YMCA on the lease and the restrooms was for nothing, because what the city got out of all that was free access to restrooms, which we did not have before. And free access to the restrooms has saved us a lot of money, so I can't see how that was a waste. That's what, that was the end result, that's what we got out of that, all those negotiations, discussions, and finally convincing the YMCA to let us use those restrooms for free. So, I mean, so it's not waste for me, I just saved the city over $100,000, maybe two, well, when we looked at the price of the restrooms, $200,000, we saved the city. So I don't think it was wasted, not at all, not at all. So that's just my opinion.
Yeah. All right, anything else under old, new, other business?
I just wanna thank the Y board. I haven't been a member of the YMCA committee board, and I've seen a lot of you guys for the last 2 years, and, you guys had a lot of patience and perseverance, and I wanna thank you for this, and once it's up and done, I think the community will really, respond to it. Thank you, everyone that's put their time and effort into this. It's been a long, grueling.
Thank you, Scott.
Yeah. And, to be honest with you, I wanna thank the voters for turning it down, you know, the $5 million bond. I think we are gonna get a much better facility and much more bang for our buck with local people doing it, so thank you, voters. All right, reporter president pro tem?
Speech.
I don't really have anything, just thank you guys for making president. I hope I can follow in Sue's footsteps.
Yeah, I do wanna.
What size shoe do you wear?
I do wanna thank Sue.
Heels or pumps?
Yeah.
Heels or pumps?
Oh, yeah, I don't wear heels anymore. You're lucky.
Things are about to be thrown in some sheaves.
All right, but Sue, on behalf of all council and myself, thank you, you did a great job, and, she can tell you how many times I was down there, bothering her at work and, calling up her on her phone and, emailing, so I think you did a great job for us as president, so thank you very much for your service. All right, report of special committees. And open discussion for citizens' comments, 5-minute rule in effect. Mr. Murgatroyd, you can go first.
As president of the Canal Fulton Y, I would like to thank council for passing this evening. We're gonna make you proud, we're gonna have a beautiful facility, and we're inviting you all in December to the grand opening.
Okay.
Funding is basically taken care of, and we're ready to rock and roll, so thank you for passing this.
Yeah.
Yes,
And like
it's
I
been
said-
a hard road, but we've made it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. You wanna say anything, Christie? Or you,
I'm not sure if I should or not.
no, I'll give you, bring you up to speed, all council. Christie Albrecht, you wanna give us your address?
2032 Summer Union Drive.
Yeah, and it's not Christie Albrecht
It's
anymore.
Christina.
Christina.
It's Albrecht Smith, but
Yeah.
the same thing.
Okay, all right.
So, go ahead.
Yeah, Christina called me this morning and, brought something to my attention, and that is the bridge, the Cherry Street Bridge. We call it the Cherry Street Bridge, it was named that in,
The Albrecht,
yes,
it's the Albrecht.
there you go.
Bridge.
And,
Albrecht Memorial Bridge.
Right,
So-
he passed while it was being built,
Yeah.
right,
yes, so
Is the
Christina
project
called,
manager on the job, is that, yeah, okay,
Yes.
yeah.
yeah.
Remember that.
Christina called me today because she had heard, Oh, go ahead, Christina.
So I was informed yesterday, through different channels that there was and this is not to be disrespectful to
Right.
anybody that is aware of this family, but that a family was trying to get their son, dedicated, the bridge to be renamed in honor of their fallen soldier that suffered from PTSD that was, years ago, and it was being renamed to honor him, and it had already passed through legislation then, and it was being renamed to honor him.
No.
Well, you would not
It's
believe
on,
we've been.
it's on there, it's on a plaque, it's
Yeah.
on there.
Well,
It's-
we've been
it's-
burning
I
up.
found
It's in
this
the
out
bridge.
yesterday when I left church.
I guess I have a question,
It's in
so,
the-
So I was panicked, I told my
No.
husband, I said,
I mean, the
okay,
plaque was
we are on our
staying.
way there right now, I called my brother, I
Wow.
said, drive to the
No.
bridge right now and make sure those plaques are still
No,
there.
it's in the bridge.
It is, the plaques are in fact still there, but in talking to many people, that has passed through channels to get this, but the plaques I found out after talking to ODOT and the engineer's office, the plaques have not been made to make that happen. So that is now, I guess, on hold, but my thought was, well, there's plenty of other things that can be done to honor this young man. There's other bridges, there's other streets, there's other facilities, there's no significance to that bridge, to that young man, and why would we remove and
No.
honor somebody that was building a bridge that has no significance to that? So that was my
I haven't
concern.
heard anything
today.
about
Well, come to
that.
this
That's
point.
like,
I'll fill you in, go
I
ahead,
have a
Mark.
couple questions. Does ODOT know that the bridge is already named after somebody?
They didn't until
Okay.
I brought to their attention
Okay.
because the bridge was owned by the Stark County engineers
Right,
and
and it
ODOT
still is.
and they
No,
did,
it's owned by ODOT now.
well,
Well, I
it's
thought it's a county bridge, do they maintain a bridge?
Christine,
early
Okay, well,
two thousands,
okay.
they switched over that ownership, not the ownership, who maintains it, but they still have it on public record, and ODOT and the engineers don't talk back and forth. However, I did speak with, ODOT, and they did talk to Columbus, and they said, we have the records, and they're not gonna change that.
we went through a lot of work.
Yeah, exactly.
I wish we would have known that, 'cause we
Yeah.
could have said,
Well, here's what happens,
What?
it's like top down, because if somebody wants to honor somebody like that,
who would have started that?
his family, he was a retired, or, military person, anybody could petition the state of Ohio.
True.
Okay,
Well,
so
they
you,
petitioned somebody up there.
Right.
Higher than here.
so here's how it
Oh,
happened.
I see how it happened.
So we get
Okay.
this, Mr. Hosking informs me that, ODOT told him that bridge is being renamed and they're gonna put a sign up to honor this new person. And I'm like, okay, how does this happen? And, basically Columbus tells ODOT to do it, and ODOT calls us and tells us, where do you want the sign?
Oh, my God.
And so Christina and I have been burning up the phone lines today, and we think, they just want to encourage us to take your time, and they're going to work things out, and we're hoping that, we'll have an amicable solution and a way to continue to honor Christina's dad and Wayne's dad. Yes, sir, Mr. Smith.
So, Mr. Mayor, just to add on to it, Doug Smith, her better half, something like that, I can't remember sometimes, so. age. Being a veteran, when this was brought up to me and, that this young man who served our country, suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder. And there's funds set up for 22, where 22 servicemen die a day from post-traumatic. Where this affected me was roadways and bridges, or for those folks that die with valor in that battle, that's what we historically named those roadways and bridges over. So with that, in remembering that PTSD is a service-connected injury with it, and it's a serious problem in our country. I contacted the Veterans Services Commission today to try to help, because I think it would be more beneficial, and I may be wrong because I can't speak for the family, that we're looking at talking to St. Thomas Hospital right now, or getting contact in them and naming a wing after him, or talk to the Valor Courts. You know, I work in Summit County, so that's my background, but maybe Judge Amy Cordwell Jones in Summit County can guide us in a way through the Valor Courts to programming to help these vets. There's also an issue, it was Representative Slavy that this was sent to, and it's feel-good legislation. Why don't you put funding behind it so the Veteran Service Commissions can give them programming and the help they need? Not just to dedicate a bridge to the service of this young man or a roadway, but to an actual programming. Put some funding to programming to help this family and the kids and the other folks coming back from what they've seen in Fallujah. You know, the United States Marines that did two tours in Fallujah was god awful. You know, we need to help them, and not through this, but just do it the right way. And so I will report back to you. So if you get in contact with the family on what the Veteran Services Commission comes up with, and I'm gonna talk to Representative Romer in the 38th district to see
That's
if
who
he
we
could do
need
it.
to get a hold of, yeah.
She's still, Slavy's still there till the 14th.
Lame duck.
All
I
right.
did apologize.
All right.
Thank you for your-
Contact Frank LaRose, I mean, he's the new Secretary of State, but he's still our senator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a
So,
veteran.
We're
a lot
on
of
it.
calls and a
We're-
lot of people I've spoken to today and a lot of
Yeah.
moving parts, but it just,
Yeah.
on behalf of our family, I just.
Yeah.
I think that plaque's like embedded.
It
is.
is.
It's embedded in
Now,
there.
it's
You're
in
gonna-
the cement work.
There's no way you're gonna chisel that out.
Mr. Murgatroyd, has helped us out, and one of the things we hope to get done here is, we have 8 young men who died in service. And one of Christina's classmates, Aaron Lockhart's one of them. But the banners that we put up for our high school athletes, someone approached us a couple years ago about putting banners up
Yeah, that was a
for,
good idea.
for military.
I don't know what
She
happened.
disappeared, so,
Yeah.
I mentioned, Mr. Murgatroyd because he's helped us in the past with the hardware, for the poles, for the banners to be put up. But what we're trying to get set up is a system so that our flags can remain up and we're not sharing the post for the banner. So Larry, I'll talk to you further after the meeting's over.
Take care of it.
All righty, so, with that said, thank you very much for coming tonight and being so patient. Wayne, you were a lot better here than you,
Sorry.
Scott, yeah.
I got it too.
2 brothers, right? Where's Wayne?
He's at home.
Okay, all right. So, with that said, I think we need a motion to adjourn.
So be it.
All right.
I'm not allowed to do that, am I, officially?
No, you're nobody.
Somebody else has gotta pick up Nelly's slack.
I heard ratings went down this month on Canal Fulton because you were on it.
I didn't
I
hear
wouldn't
it.
believe it.
Went from 12 views to 6.